Oh, domestic abuse has really risen in the last 5 years in Scotland. You're talking about around 65,000 cases were reported, incidents reported to this, Police Scotland in 2020 to 2021. But also what 2020 to 2021 seen was a rise in charges recorded as well. You're talking about around about 2,700 cases in 1 year. That was the rise, which is absolutely terrible. And in my own area in the west of Scotland, we have an area which is West Dunbartonshire, with the second highest when it comes down to domestic abuse reported in Scotland. So you can see how important that issue is. And also, I think what people don't see is that these incidents, whether they're reported or charged, these are real people, human beings behind that, broken homes, broken families, and a lot of incidents that go unchecked and nobody knows about. So that's why I'm introducing my bill in the Scottish Parliament, which is the Domestic Abuse Register. It's very similar to the Sex Offenders Register, but it will also have some additional measures, which will be some measures on mandatory rehabilitation, maybe things like we're looking at anger management, and that's something that's mandatory in the US. It's working very well. But also, I just want to touch on, obviously coming from the BAME background, what it means to me. When I was growing up, I remember my mother's shop across the road from our flats, and, mum going into the shop and, talking to many ladies coming through that door, not to buy items, but just be there in a safe place to talk about what's happening. So I've seen growing up firsthand people being bruised, bleeding, crying, which at a young age I didn't know what it was. And I believe that there has to be some kind of safe haven for women as well that they can go to and talk about it. Now, one size does not, unfortunately, fit all, because, we've had some witnesses on our committee, and they've talked about during the pandemic that they found that services could not cope with, especially victims from BAME communities, because they could not understand their culture, the family background. So I feel that's another area that we need to tap into. Also, I just think that it's been far too long that Scotland has suffered under the SNP's hands of a soft justice system. It's the victims that suffer while the criminals are allowed to roam free out there. So I think this bill will be a very interesting bill, but I think it will be a bill that will really help victims, but it will also help people not to reoffend, because out that 65,000, Dana, more than half were reoffenders, which is absolutely terrible. We need to make sure that we are helping those victims, and it's only the Scottish Conservative Party that can really reach out and help those victims.